the last round, the Ute boys made the long haul to the West Coast, and they made sure they got their money's worth.
All locked up into turn one.
Oh, no, pretty. Championship leader very nearly got wiped out. This is nuts. And a category Trojan was on a mission. He's been so strong all weekend. Kim Jane wins round 3. Now we're about to turn up the heat as the mean machines of Aussie motorsport head north to conquer Darwin's Hidden Valley. Well, it's time for round 4 of the 2012 Auto 1 V8 Ute Series, protected by Armour All. Our regular co-driver, James Moffat from Team Norton DJR, is back with us today. And Moff, when I think of word association, I want you to play the game. Hidden Valley plus V8 Utes equals...
Well, we know the V8 Utes are really, really popular up here in the top end in Darwin. The heat, obviously, long straight here at Darwin, and the racing is always fantastic with the Utes, so I think we're on for a great weekend.
As I mentioned, it's round 4 of 8 this weekend, so we're approaching the halfway mark of this year's championship. So I want you to take, who's been the impressive driver this year?
Well, look, for me, I think Chris Walton really has been a surprise packet. You know, he's sort of come into the series not really known, and he's won around, second in the championship at the moment. But, you know, obviously the guys like Nathan Pretty, very experienced. He's doing a good job as well. But there's plenty on the line for these guys because the top place Holden and Ford driver get a test in a V8 supercar, the factory FPR and HRT car. So there's a lot on the line for these guys.
We're really looking forward to this weekend. The racing's tight as ever, the championship's evenly poised, and there's a Holden veteran who's got his mojo back. Victory in the last round in Perth has rocketed long-time Ute pilot Kim Jane back into the title picture. The Victorian is now up to 4th in the championship, just 45 points between he and title leader Nathan Pretty. Perth was his first round win since the round here last year, and the big guy has got his mojo back.
We all drive on the raggedy edge, or we all think we're driving on the raggedy edge, and you know you are when you can pull off some race wins and some lap records, because you can't do it just, you know, driving around casually. You've got to really be able to run on that edge, and you know, sometimes the confidence goes on you a bit, and you don't want to take it to that place. Where at the moment, you know, it's a pretty happy place, but then again, it's 4 races this weekend. The reverse grid's a very important part of it, and you need to be able to pull it off and pick up a lot of spots.
Points leader Pretty finished 5th here at Hidden Valley last year, and such is the competition this year, the podium results are the best way to piece together a championship. Top 5s just won't be enough.
I want top 3s now. That's just, you get that taste for it, and now maybe it's a greed thing, but I really want to try and stick on the top 3 to get to spray that cheap champagne.
One man who's struggled this year is last season's Rookie of the Year, Ryan Hansford. While his teammate Chris Walton sits 2nd in the championship, the lanky Queenslander's year has been in direct contrast, and he lies back in 12th. Last time we headed to the top end, he broke through for his first race win and finished on the podium. But getting results this year is no easy feat.
Yeah, about the top 15 are very competitive, so it is, and it's all very close. Same engine builder as you all know, so and everything on the car is the same. So it just comes down to the driver and their feedback.
There's a familiar face in the Auto 1 wildcard entry this weekend as Tim Blanchard swaps his Dunlop Series Falcon V8 supercar for a Commodore V8 Ute. He drove the wildcard entry in Darwin last year and ran 14th, so at least he's got a yardstick for his next foray into the madness of Ute racing.
Yeah, I was quite surprised at how competitive the series is, so you know, kind of realised what I'm in for this weekend, and it's quite close and tough racing. So 4 races around here in the heat is going to be quite difficult.
Reigning New Zealand Ute champ Andrew Waite is the newest Kiwi to dip his toe into the Aussie Series. The latest young pilot to enter via a scholarship set up by last year's champ, Chris Pither. The 23-year-old raced Formula Ford here 4 years ago and long-term wants to keep racing in Australia.
My ultimate goal is V8 supercars. You know, I've followed them since I was a small one. So it's just a matter of you know, taking most of every opportunity like what Chris has given me, and just got to go for it as much as I can and try to get to the supercars. That is the goal.
Well, qualifying was keenly contested in the top end, but the man on top with his 2nd pole of the season, David Cedars, picks up the $1,000 with thanks to Armour All. It's the 8th of his career. He's 3rd on the all-time Ute pole sitters list. Stay with us after the break. All of the action from race 1 at Hidden Valley in Darwin. Valley Raceway in Darwin, getting set for race 2 of the weekend in round 4 of the Auto 1 V8 Utes series. Of course, we've already had race 1. Let's have a look at the highlights of what unfolded in that first hit out of the weekend. And the poleman David Cedars took the lead on the run to turn 1. Kim Jane, the last round winner, right in there too with Andrew Fisher. Good, strong qualifying from Andrew Wade. He qualified 8th on debut, but then it went all wrong for last year's Darwin round winner. Kim Jane dropped off the road and handballed 2nd place away, and 3rd and 4th. He did get going again, but he put pressure on Cam McConville. Ended up, though, he got a penalty because he passed McConville on a restart, but that was nothing compared to what happened to Chris Walton. 2 broken left wheel rims, and he was forced to park the Renko Ford. He failed to finish. Tim Blanchard, the Auto 1 wildcard for the weekend, having a lunge on Craig Donis, and then on Jeremy Gray, and then on the tyre bundle. Bang, left front damaged. Donis took to the scenery, and Blanchard, who we'll see later in the year with Todd Kelly in the Enduros, had massive damage to the left front from hitting that tyre bundle. He pulled over and retired from the race, so not a good start in a one-off start for him. But at the front, it was all about the Falcons. David Cedars from pole led them home and ended up picking up his first win of the season. Ryle Harris in 2nd, tightening up the championship margin. Andrew Fisher in 3rd. Nathan Pretty defending the honour for Holden in 4th from Kim Jane and Cam McConville. Grant Johnson and Ben Dunn rounded out the top 10.
It's good to get back in the winner's circle. I haven't won since Homebush last year. I was leading at Clipsal race 1, round 1 this year until the car had a mechanical gremlin, so it's great to get the new girl christened and get that #1 step back.
So let's have a look at the NZ Drivers' Championship with points applied for qualifying and race 1. 24 points between Pretty and Harris, who now leapfrogs Chris Walton. Fisher 4th from David Cedars, Reece McNally next, Jane, Donis, Baxter and Cam McConville rounds out the top 10 as it sits coming into this second race of the weekend. 12 laps ahead, and just to mix it up, we've got a reverse grid. The top 17 have been inverted, James, so Giannis Derhams and Warren Millett go to the front row.
And Giannis Derhams is actually teammate to David Cedars, so Cedars racing on the front row again. Jared McLeod and Gary Baxter coming off row 4.
Andrew Waite's done a really good job this weekend on debut, the New Zealand Ute champ in car #1. McConville and Pretty, Fisher and Harris. So look for those guys to really carve their way through the field. David Cedars, the poleman, will start from 17th. Great to see Jeremy Gray back in the series this weekend. He's driving Brad Patton's big gun car. Haley Swanson really growing in confidence and moving forward. Ben Wilson having his first run in 8 years in Ute racing. He's taken over Jack Elsgood's car. Chris Walton from the back of the grid. You might be thinking he's 30th. He's done. He can race well. He will pass cars.
Red lights on now, ready for a start.
Warren Millett's awake this time. Last year, he made an absolute shocker in the wake-up Commodore. He's certainly awake today. He's got it running towards turn 1. Look for the fast guys to carve their way through. Ryan Hansford down the inside. Craig Donis covering the line, but Millett will beat them all to turn 1.
Great start by Millett, so he heads the field into turn 1. On board and further in the pack, bit of contact here with Ben Dunn.
Oh, that's Andrew Waite giving him a bit of a muscle, and Reece McNally stuck out wide and in the grass, and he's probably lost about 10 spots already.
So McNally there, probably a bit of an innocent bystander and all that, hung out to dry.
Oh, and Donis lunging Millett takes the lead at turn 5. Hansford comes along for the ride. Derhams is in there as well, and Donis has already had a bit of drama this weekend. He had a clash with Ryle Harris in practice session #1, was not happy about it. Now he's fighting for the lead with Ryan Hansford, who we covered off earlier in the show as having a tough start to the year. He was strong here last year and he's going well again.
And you speak of his tough start to the year, he qualified 20th this weekend, his worst V8 Ute qualifying ever. Had a tough race 1, but he's putting plenty of pressure on Craig Donis now for the lead.
He had a disconnected gear shift in race 1. He managed to fish around and find something to grab a hold of and change the gears. But have a look at this, 31 Utes, nose to tail in this opening lap, and Hansford has got a run on the exit of the final turn. He's down the inside on Dontis. And that Ford, it's hauling the mail. And talking to some Commodore drivers this weekend, they reckon they're back to where they were at in round 1 in Adelaide, but the Falcon has got too much top-end speed for the Commodore boys like him.
And prior to that round, there was a parry adjustment for the Ford, so clearly the Falcon guys have probably picked up a bit of straight line speed, but Hansford now slips up the inside, and that move was set up with a great run onto the front straight.
Auto 1 replay. That's Chris Walton going around the outside of Knowledge. Gets a bit of a rub. Oh, Peter Burnett through the scenery. Bangs in the side of Knowledge, who stays in it. Uh-oh. Boom. Unloads him. Payback?
Well, another replay here. So Burnett's got the wipers going on and everything. And really, Nunes, they tried to have that accident for about 3 corners and finally got the job done coming onto the straight.
They got there eventually, didn't they? Have a look at this. Millet racing hard with Giannis Derhams back in the series this weekend in that 3rd Cedars Racing entry. Millet out through the dirt. Gary Baxter has got a pretty good run. And Baxter, he's one of only 4 drivers who've done every V8 Ute round here at Hidden Valley. This is the 7th time that the Utes have been in Darwin, and he's a real stalwart of the category, and he's starting to charge his way forward, though a little bit worried about some of the bump marks on the side of that car.
He certainly knows his way around Darwin, that's for sure, and he moves up into 4th. Executed a nice move there on Millet. So Millet sat on the front row, now falling back a little bit.
Roll Harris here, putting a move on Andrew Waite. Ryle second in race 1. He's closed his way up in the championship picture, and I'm hearing from pit lane that he's using his spare tyres in this race. He wants to save up 2 good ones for races 3 and 4.
Really good strategy, considering this weekend that the Ute guys have an extra race, so tyre condition will be very crucial come the last race of the weekend.
And the boys better keep an eye on Ryle, because he's been doing a bit of Muay Thai boxing of late, so I don't know if he's going to use it on the racetrack. I would hope not, but he's really been quite quick. Have a look at these guys throwing these things through the scenery.
And I think I just caught a glimpse of Grant Johnson coming into pit lane. Yes, so dramas for the former series champion. So not the weekend that he was hoping for.
3-time winner of the round here in Darwin, 8th in race 1, but in pit lane at the moment. There is Chris Walton. He's moving his way through the traffic, as is Kim Jane on board the Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore. He got done 27-second penalty in race 1 for a pass and an overlap with Cam McConville, so that's really hurt. But how about this? David Cedars started 17th. Chris Walton started 30th, and he's caught him within 4 laps.
Well, we really shouldn't be surprised with Walton. He has been on fire in these reverse grid races all year. We've seen him charge through the pack, so coming from 30th, I'm not shocked to see him up in the midfield.
This is on, this is wheeling. Ben Wilson a little bit wide in Jack Elsgood's car. And that's ironic, because he actually ran Jack back a couple of seasons ago, and Ben raced in the Ute Series back when it was the V8 Brutes that long ago in the Pro Car days. So jumping back in this weekend and has done well. He qualified 5th, which is fantastic for a guy who's been out of the saddle.
On board now with Kim Jane. So Kimbo having to come back through the field from a lowly starting position due to his race 1 penalty. And you can just see how hard it is for these guys, because there's always action around in these reverse grid races. Everybody is fighting for every bit of track, and no quarter is given.
Hansford leads, Dontas, Derhams, Baxter's 4th. Then Danny Bazadzik, Cam McConville making a lunge on Warren Millet. Fisher, Harris, Pretty, Waite, Cedars, Walton, Ben Dunn, Jeremy Gray,
Wilson, trouble here for Ben Wilson.
Wilson, bang! I was doing the roll call, but he's been banished.
And there goes a Yokohama.
Come back. We need that. Stop. Well, it saw all the other tyres down the tyre wall, that's why.
He's going to join all his mates down there. But so Ben Wilson, big mistake into turn 1. Saw him lock the left front tyre and couldn't stop. And Jeremy Gray, unfortunately,
it's still going.
Was just minding his own business and copped a big hit in the left rear. So he's out of action for the rest of this race. And no doubt that will cause a safety car.
Let's have a look at the replay. Auto 1 replay, locked it up. No chance of making it. Jeremy Gray, wrong place, wrong time. Left rear gets absolutely demolished. In fact, I think half of the wheel is still left on the studs. It's just the tyre on the outside of the wheel that's been popped off. Cam McConville in pit lane. They're changing the left front Yokohama on that car. We're hearing maybe there's a broken rim for him as well. So that's an emerging pattern this weekend. Under safety car, Jeremy Gray's car's being moved away. We'll restart when we come back to Darwin. Back in racing in race 2, round 4 of the Auto 1 V8 Ute Series at Hidden Valley in Darwin. It's the reverse grid race, and we've got things cleaned up. We're back to racing, and Ryle Harris here in the Rexall Ford, starting to move forward in his Ford. He's trying to get through on Danny Bazadzik. He's going to give him a little bit of a wide move here. We're on board with Andrew Fisher, who is trying to take advantage and move on through, but pretty much from here to the end of the lap, James, you can't really pass.
No, you're right, Nerds. There's fantastic passing opportunities in the first half of the lap. We saw Ryle pull one off at turn 6, the hairpin in the valley. But yeah, this last section of track area at Hidden Valley, very technical, very tight, and no real opportunities to pass. So Fisher now will be looking to get a good run onto the straight so he can slipstream past and have a look up the inside of Buzadzik into turn 1.
And Fisher's pace in the races has been really good when you consider he missed practice 1 with diff failure. He only did 4 laps in practice 2. He's way down on track time compared to the rest of them. How about this? Cedars and Walter, we talked about them before the break. If you're David Cedars, you must be looking out the window going, where on earth's this guy come from?
He certainly has been on a charge, that's for sure, Walton. And apart from the left side of that Renko Falcon looking a bit beat up, the rest of it is looking pretty clean, so he hasn't had to use too much force to get his way through the field. But Fisher now going the long way, or the hard way, around Buzadzik into turn 5, but he gets that job done, and he's moving forward. So maybe that lack of practice is actually paying off for him.
Just behind Nathan Pretty in the Monster Commodore Championship leader. Remember, Millett locked up. He's being assaulted here by Cedars and Walton, who slips past the pair of them. That was quite easy.
It's the easiest 2 spots that Walton's probably made up in this race, and he would have just been rubbing his hands together at that side. So he's moving forward again. Kim Jane now on the back of Cedars. We see the Ute in front of us moving around.
Remember that these guys are not on slick racing tyres. They're on a grooved Yokohama Advan tyre. It's a bit of an all-rounder for wet, dry and Ute conditions, really, which is basically everything.
And they certainly do copper hiding, especially up here in Darwin in the heat. And the Yokohamas generally always stand up to the test. So Ryan Hansford now has well, he would know that Craig Dondas is putting the pressure on, that's for sure, but he's only got a couple of laps to hold on for hopefully his first race win of the year.
And for Dontas, this would be his best race finish for quite some time. There's Baxter in 3rd, Harris catching, lap and a half to go at Hidden Valley. Not really many places to do a move on, and Dontas is not close enough.
And the way that Ryle Harris has been moving through the field, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a look for 3rd on Gary Baxter.
Remember that there's 35 points for a race win in each of the 4 races this weekend, and they get awarded points in qualifying. Look for Walton here. He's all over the back of Danny Buzadzik. Gets into the back of him maybe just a little bit. He's sideways, he's sliding, he's wide on the exit. But Walton, what a charge. This guy passes more cars in the reverse grid races than anyone I've ever seen in Ute racing.
Well, he's up to 7th in this race so far, Nunes. Just imagine where he would be if he actually started up the front of the field.
He'd be finished now. He'd be back in the tent.
Nathan Pretty now.
Now, he's got to be careful. He's throwing it off every single curb. We've seen some wheel rim failures this weekend, and talking to some of the drivers, they're just smashing the curbs, and that's what's causing it.
And all the exit curbs here in Darwin are actually sawtooth curbs, so when you drop the wheel over the back of those curbs, it can do damage to the rims, and that's what we seem to be seeing this weekend.
Last lap of race 2 here at Hidden Valley, and Baxter's hanging on, but not by much, because Harris has got some real car speed on board that machine. Andrew Fisher, pretty lonely back in 5th spot, hasn't had too much to do in the last couple of laps, but Ryan Hansford half a lap away from his first race win of the season, and his first race win sent here in Darwin last year.
And I must admit, Nudes, apart from the incident we saw with Jeremy Gray and Ben Wilson that caused a safety car, this reverse grid race is usually action-packed.
Oh, well, it's been action-packed, but everyone's still going. That's the only difference. You only have to look at some of the doors, the panels, the wheels, the bumpers, and then you get the vibe that it's been busy.
Well, you're probably right, but look, Ryan Hansford now, he looks like he's got enough of a margin to be able to hold on for this race win, so he'll be happy. His truck line boys will be happy that they've got a race win this weekend.
Baxter's hanging on in the Sage Commodore. Last turn coming up, and Ryan Hansford is going to snatch his first race win of the season. Have a look at the marks down the side of that thing. He's worked hard for it today. He's got his nose in clean air, and he's going to bring it home. Race 2 in the top end will go to the second generation star. Have a look at Harris, though. Not done with yet on Baxter. That Falcon's got some speed, but not enough to snatch 3rd.
And have a look at, talk about speed. Walton now gets Buzadzik on the line, and we spoke about having to work hard. Well, he has seriously worked hard. He has finished 6th past an amazing 24 cars in that race.
And Craig Donis in second. It's his best race result since Townsville last year. That's a long time between top twos, but Ryan Hansford picks up the win. Fastest lap of the race, David Cedars. He was fast. He got his way to 8th. Nathan Pretty hangs on to the title lead. He was 9th. And Kim Jane ran it out the top 10.
Well, Ryan, this is a result you've been searching for all year, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, and been a bit lucky today. You know, didn't have a very good qualifying session. 20th, probably my worst ever, and then race 1, my gear stick fell out on me as well. So just lucky that I finished in 16th and was able to start on 3rd, and then just got to the front on the second lap and just held Craig out. It was a pretty good battle between us. I had a bit more drive than him, and he was catching me sort of under brakes and through some of the turns. But the Truckline Ute held up really well today. They did a really good job for us.
You can win a V8 race car drive with Fast Track Racing and a radio-controlled V8 Ute, all thanks to Extreme Clutches, Australia's largest range in high-performance clutches. Log on to extremeclutch.com.au and vote for your favourite extreme moment from each round for your chance to win. Check out the website for more details and for your competition winners.
Stick with us, we're only halfway through the races for the weekend. After the break, highlights of race 3.
You're watching the Auto 1 V8 Ute Series, protected by Armour All. The V8 Ute Racing Series is offering a drive of a lifetime to the front-running Ford and Holden drivers this year. A test drive with factory V8 supercar teams, Ford Performance Racing and the Holden Racing Team. It's given added incentive for drivers to aim for the championship and strut their stuff on the big stage.
Yeah, if you can get in a test drive and do a good job at it, it just shows how good the quality of the drivers are in the Ute category.
The V8 Ute Series has proven to be a feeder category into the Dunlop Series and V8 Supercars. James Moffat, an example of a V8 Ute Rookie of the Year, going on to Dick Johnson Racing.
I'm always looking for young talent, whether it's Formula Ford, DVS, the Ute Series. So obviously the guy who's the fastest Ford in the Ute Series is definitely of interest.
For others, like Holden frontrunner Nathan Pretty, who's been there and done that, he wants to assist the next generation in chasing their V8 supercar dream.
I'm going to fight like hell to try and win that so that I can actually give, hopefully if I can do it that way, but give another young guy the opportunity to test it.
Oh, for a young guy, it'd be an unbelievable opportunity because they get to see how these teams operate, the engineering behind it, the technology, and then sit down with a couple of dedicated engineers and talk through what they're doing in the car. A little bit different than the Ute, which is slightly different to drive, so it's a pretty good opportunity for some young guys.
For more info, head to the V8 Utes website.
Time for the final, race 4. 14 laps ahead at Hidden Valley Raceway to decide the overall round winner for the 4th round of the championship. Cars on the warm-up lap now, but let's have a look at the highlights from race 3 earlier on. And Ryle Harris got the jump on David Cedars. Was pretty busy in the mid-pack, but have a look at Craig Donis. Have a look at Cam McConville, locked up in the Bundy Commodore. Wham! Into the side of the Thirsty Camel Ute. McConville was done. The right front was busted. He was found to have been the cause of that. Simply driver error. How's this for Donis, though? He's limping and he's being menaced by everybody. Walton to the left, Jane to the right. He ended up off the road because that car was not in a good condition. He did manage to finish, but he was 29th by the time he got back onto the road. How about this, though? Kim Jane at turn 1. I'll let the pictures do the talking. That tyre bundle just trips up the Bob Jane Team Arts Commodore, trying to avoid Warren Millett down into turn 1. And this is all it ended up doing, tipping him onto the roof. The good news was that Kim was okay. Not too happy about the car, though. It's damaged, but it will start the 4th and final race. Back up front, and it was on for the run to the checkered flag. Harris defending from Cedars, who went the long way at turn 1. The Fords again, the dominant car. Nathan Pretty leading the Commodore charge, but have a look at this, side by side. Cedars out through the grass, up towards the curb, and they kept it pegged, side by side on the run towards the valley. Cedars would not lift. He had it up the inside. The Buttsworth Ford held on to the lead. So that was a move that took 4 or 5 corners to get done. but he would bring it home to the final corner. Harris with a little bit of a look, but certainly not enough to get the Wrexham forward into the gap. So Cedars kicked it on home and picked up his second race win of 3 for the weekend. Plenty going in the background. That move from Chris Walton on Danny Buzadzik would give him a penalty for this final race. Moves him back a couple of grid positions, but David Cedars picked up the win, the 10th race win of his Ute career. Harris, Fisher, Pretty and Hansford rounded out the top 5.
Yeah, it was good. I got in a roll around the outside of turn 1. He was nice and kind. Normally you get a bit of a hip and shoulder if you're on the outside, but Ryle played nice and managed to pick up position to get the win. So 2 race wins and a pole. I'm pretty happy at the moment.
And that brings us to the final race, and have a look at this. Kim Jane, they have been just doing a little bit of panel work. They've got it back onto the grid, James Moffat, for this final race, but the problem is he starts 30th.
I've got to say, though, it's an amazing job that Kim's even on the grid. We saw that roll over, or just tipped over onto its roof, but plenty of damage to the Bob Jane T-Marts Commodore. Chris Walton will be starting out at 12th. Penalty from that incident with Buzadzik on the last corner of the last lap, but big thumbs up to the Bob Jane T-Marts crew for getting that car of Jane's fixed.
Ben Cavich starting 17th, having a shocking weekend. Haley Swanson, pretty consistent, 22nd. Colin Bradley, the other Bay Point Developments car in the field. Ben Wilson starts down the back. He got excluded from race 2 from that contact with Jeremy Gray. So this is the decider. It's all about the Fords. Can Nathan Pretty do anything about them? He reckons he needs to attach a ratchet strap to the front 2 Fords on the grid. And it's Harris who's got the jump towards turn 1. He's got his nose in front, but there's still a little bit of overlap. Now there's not. He'll move across and take the line.
Great start by Harris, so he's got the all-important jump. Of course, starting from P2, he's actually on the clean side of the track. So Nathan Pretty in that lone holding up the front, trying to go around the outside. But Fisher, he's hanging tough there as well. So Harris, great start, followed by Cedars. Pretty and Fisher going side by side through 2 and 3.
Pretty will have the inside for the next one, turn 5. And this is the corner, James. We talked about some of the wheel rim dramas. The exit of this curb, there it is on the outside of turn 5. Some of the cars running up and over there and crunching down really hard, causing some damage.
So that's something to keep an eye out for this race for sure, because we have seen quite a few rim failures this weekend as a result. So Kim Jane already on a charge from the back of the pack, going the long way around the outside of turn 6 of the hairpin.
Remember too that they've got a massive break. The next round of the championship is at Bathurst in October. They've got plenty of time to fix these things.
That doesn't sound good to me, Nudes, but I'm pretty sure the panel beaters around the country will be rubbing their hands together at the sound of that. So we should be in for a ripper final race.
Back on board with Jane, chasing McConville. That's Haley Swanson up in front to the right-hand side, who earlier on in the weekend they sent her swimming with Crocs. They told her it was for a PR stunt, but I don't think I like the sound of any good PR stunt if it involves Crocs.
Certainly not for me, that's for sure, Nudes, but have a look at this. Kim Jane now getting a double toe, if you like, and have a look at the effect of that. He pulls to the outside. 3 wide now, they go into turn 1. Jane deep under brake, so the incident of his rollover this morning and showing that he's still plenty brave enough to go around the outside.
Oh, Noel Edge copping it from everyone. He got one from Dontas. He copped one from Fonzie Mullen on the way through as well. And he's going to step into an FG Falcon for the next round at Bathurst, but I'm not sure this is the way that you send the BF out. It's not quite in style, and he's giving it back as well. Baxter up the inside. They're menacing this green Ford. Now Haley Swanson gives him a whack as well. Sends him off the road. Gee, talk about hustle and bustle.
Now Blanchard up the inside of Jeremy Gray. On board in the Auto 1 guest car.
Problem here, he's on the outside for the next one. Oh, I'm hearing the brake lock. I'm seeing grass and we're in it.
No grip out there, Nude. So off the road goes Blanchard. He'll be disappointed with that.
Remember, this is his second run in the wildcard car. He drove it here at Hidden Valley last year, and this year he's been appointed an ambassador for Auto 1. That's no way to deal with the ambassador and fire him off the road. Well, Jeremy Gray didn't fire him off the road, but have a look at this again. Auto 1 replay. He's just in no man's land out there.
It actually doesn't look like there was any contact there, just no grip off line here in Darwin, and Blanchard off the road. So disappointing for him, but the two teammates, Walton and Hansford, going at it.
The guy they're chasing is Ryle Harris. He leads the way in the final race of the weekend in Darwin. Back at Hidden Valley Raceway in Darwin, it's the final race in the Auto 1 V8 Utes Series, protected by Armor All. We're on board the Icebreak Coffee Commodore, Andrew Waite, the New Zealand Ute champ, on debut this weekend, and is right among it, James Moffat. He's fighting for 4th place with Chris Walton, who's just up in front, but Waite's scorecard this weekend's good. Qualified 8th, he's had a 7th, a 13th and a 6th. He's on target for top 5 for the weekend.
And of course, Andrew's not totally unfamiliar to the V8 Utes. He's the reigning New Zealand V8 Ute champion, so coming over the Tasman this weekend, this won't be completely unfamiliar for him.
Oh, Hansford and Johnson, this is getting willing. Ryan in the truck line for the former 2-time champs, out through the grass, and there's a touch. Telstra side, gone.
So Hansford and Johnson getting into it on the exit of turn 1.
Whose fault, though? That's what I want to know. It looked like Ryan initially gave him some room, but they were like magnets drawn apart but together in the end.
Yeah, I would have said, you know, Grant was trying to go around the outside. Ryan did nothing wrong there, gave him plenty of room on the exit, and they just came together when they ran out of road. So, fair game, play on.
Sounded very diplomatic to me, Moffat, but have a look at Kim Jane's thing. It's been smashed. The roof just does not look like the way that it left the Holden factory when it was built. Look at this, Walton charging on the Auto 1 replay, and he's rounding up Nathan Pretty. He's on the wrong side here. Remember these two, or 1-2 coming into the weekend in the championship picture.
That's no longer the case. So Waite now, big run on Pretty, up the inside into turn 11. Hard spot on the track to get a pass done, but he's managed to do it. Great job.
That looked like Pretty missed a gear or something strange went on there, but up front, these two are smashing them. Harris and Cedars are going at it, stroke for stroke, blow for blow. Look at the gap. There's no one in screen. Andrew Fisher, there he is, somewhere in the background. So it's between these two for the race, but it's also between them for the round, because if they finish where they are, they'll be tied up on points, and the tiebreaker will be this final race. So Ryle Harris needs to keep his nose in front. If Cedars gets in front, the round is his.
And that's why you see Cedars with the lights on. He's trying to put all the pressure he can on Harris, hoping that Harris makes a mistake and Cedars can slip through, take the lead, and the round win.
Now, Harris reported in race 3, he felt a vibration in the car late in that race, and he's a bit worried about it for this 4th and final race. So let's see if he manages to bring it home. It's clearly not affecting the pace of that 58 Ford, which his teammates and run from the Big Gun Racing team that operate multiple cars in the Utes Championship. Half race distance in this final race of the weekend. And we talked about it earlier on in the weekend, and it's all about the Fords. Have a look there. 1, 2, 3, 4 now with Walton.
You say that as if it's a bad thing, Noons.
You say that like a Ford man with a blue blood.
Certainly, you know, Waite and Pretty holding up the general. That's for sure this weekend. So on board with Waite, there's a good opportunity to see what's going on inside one of these V8 Utes.
Really has a natural amphitheatre feel here at Hidden Valley with the way that these cars run up to the hairpin and then come back. The crowd is completely around it. It's a great part of the Australian motor racing calendar. Ryan Hansford doesn't seem to think so, because Reece McNally giving him a horrible time in the Stratco Commodore. Ben Dunn hooked in behind, and he's off to go barra fishing straight after this one, so he'd want this one to be over pretty quickly.
You're not wrong there, Noons, but Ben Dunn, 2nd round in the FG Falcon for him this weekend, and really got to say, since he's moved up into that FG, his performances have been a lot stronger this year.
Yeah, scorecard's been good this weekend, 9th, 11th and 8th, so he's been quite consistent in the 3 races that we've had so far, and again, he's in the top 10 as he hustles here. Bazantic just behind with Jeremy Gray. And we're at that stage of the weekend with 4 races, qualifying, a couple of practice sessions. Everyone's got to be out of puff.
Out of puff and probably more out of tyres, but McNally having a big look up the inside underneath Hansford. He's got the left front lock.
No chance. Good try.
See you later, off the track he goes. So he had a big lunge up the inside. couldn't stop the car and has lost a few positions out of that. So disappointing for the Stratco Commodore.
They did a 180-degree flip turn on the setup of this car for the final race. Seems to have worked. It looks a bit pacier because his weekend so far, the 6th, the 15th, the 9th, he was going a little bit better until he dropped off the road there, but he's clearly got a bit of pace. Jeremy Gray back in the series is looking comfortable, throwing that thing around. Auto 1 replay, simple scenario, in too deep, little lock at the left front and a small run through the grass, but he can reload and have another go.
Now Nathan Pretty having a look at Andrew Waite all over the back of the Ice Break Commodore. Oh, have a listen to the Yokohamas working through turn 11 and 12.
The Commodore boys are struggling though. It is a Falcon smash fest at Hidden Valley. The run to the line when we come back. On the run home in the final race of the weekend, round 4 in the Auto 1 V8 Series, protected by Armour All, Hidden Valley in Darwin. Looking here at Danny Bazadzik in that FG Falcon. He's in the top 10, but not by much. Noel Edge, well, he's been hit from pillar to post in this one. It looks like he's lost the left rear.
He certainly wants to make sure that BF Falcon goes out with a bang, that's for sure.
I think a few other people have tried to do that, not so much Noel. He's been involved in a bit of drama. Now that's Rick Gill, but that's Noel, and that's the tyre. We've had a few tyres who've been trying to escape from Utes this weekend, but I'm not too sure if those two were involved together or they were just in the scene of the crime at the same time. Oh, Chris Walton, we've been monitoring this for a couple of laps. There were some small wisps of smoke and he's pushing on. The pace of the car's dropped a little bit, but not massively, which tends to make me feel it's not engine drama, it's not oil, but it could be something like power steering or something like that, really unnerving. And with a couple of laps to go, he only needs to do 2 more laps and he can make it home, snag some points and get the heck out of here without a drama.
So Waite now getting a windscreen full of that smoke from the Renko Falcon, but really tough weekend for a couple of the heavy hitters in the championship. Walton and Kim Jane both having tough weekends, and that's...
Oh, careful. Don't want to slip off.
Yeah, trying to keep it on the road. So there's clearly some oil coming from underneath that car. Maybe gearbox. Hard to really determine what the actual problem is, but certainly his pace has reduced.
And the thing for him, though, is if he gets around this time and gets by without a black flag, he'll be okay because he's on the last lap of the race. He can't be penalised from there. But if he gets one this time around, he's got to bring it in because normally you've got 3 laps to respond to a black flag or a mechanical black flag. There's not 3 laps left. So that's, of course, if it doesn't give up completely. Auto 1 replay. Let's have a look under and see if we can spot what's coming out. It's a bit hard to tell, but judging by the way the car's still running, I'm going to vote with power steering. He's still going. He's just desperate to get home and collect what he can, but he will lose points to this man, Raul Harris, who is definitely now in the championship picture.
And he's got a handy lead, that's for sure. So he's... we mentioned earlier in the weekend that he was holding on to some...
Oh, no, that's what we were talking about. That's the bad sportsmanship flag, and it is for Chris Walton. So he'll have to respond. He will have to pit, and he will have to handball away a pile of points. So what a drama. He crashed in qualifying, didn't finish race 1, charged his way through in race 2 from 30th to 6th. He got 7th in race 3, but a 5-spot grid penalty for this race for the Bazadzik contact. No, weekend from hell or what?
Well, doing some quick numbers, it looks like he's going to drop from 2nd in the championship coming into the weekend to 5th by the time we leave. So he'll definitely want to erase Darwin 2012 from his memory.
Have a look at these guys. Nose to tail, Hansford, Warren Millett, Bazadzik next, then Jake McNally. Tell you what, Millett's had a pretty good weekend. Qualified 27th, 16th, 14th, 12th. He's moved forward in every race, which is really good stuff. Bazadzik smoking in that FG Ford, then Jake McNally, then Ben Cavich, who he's had a shocker. I can't even describe what he's filled in on his team sheet for the weekend because there's just been nothing good to say.
And we got a glimpse of Kim Jane there in the background, so he's managed to move his way forward in this race. Probably hasn't got as high as he would have liked, but probably understandable given that there's probably still a little bit of damage to that Bob Jane Team Arts Commodore.
Craig Donis, Thirsty Camel Commodore. We jump back on board with the new on-in car with the mini-me of the series. I don't know how he sees over the wheel, the little fella. He does pedal pretty quickly. He's had a bit of a tough weekend. 2nd in race 2, that was the real standout. But talk about standouts. He's already got the lights flashing, Raul Harris. I reckon he's already got his plans ready for the after party as well because he's on his way home to win not just the round for the weekend, the first round win for him this season, and he'll be second in points when he leaves this weekend. He's got a few months to think about Bathurst. He's in a good place.
Well, he's carrying some sponsorship from Ducks Nuts this weekend, so I'm sure that's where the big gun racing team will be heading for their after party.
How about Cedars? P2, solid, will score the same amount of points but lose the round on a countback. But in the championship picture, the bigger picture, it's still a very solid weekend for the man that they call Sideways Cedars. But Ryle Harris, the kid, is on his way into the final couple of corners. He's cruising it into this last corner, and the Hidden Valley Straight will await, and so too will the checkered flag. He lights it up off the final turn, and the big gun racing driver will pick up race 4, his first race win of the weekend, his first round win of the season, and he pushes his way back into the V8U title fight. Harris wins round 4. Cedars is home in second, and if you're a Ford fan, it's an absolute plethora of blue oval delight. Fisher's third for the race and third for the weekend. The podium is all blue.
Andrew Waite finishes an impressive 4th in the final race, closely followed by Nathan Pretty, and Grant Johnson recovers after some dramas in race 2 to finish 6th.
It's been a big weekend. 4 races at Hidden Valley. Ben Dunn brings it home. He'll run 7th in the Cosmos Foods Ford. Reece McNally next. Jeremy Gray. Ryan Hansford's had a bit of a better weekend this time around than his season so far. But race 4, there's the results. Grant Johnson 6th, Dunn, McNally, Gray and Hansford rounded out the top 10. But for the weekend result, it was so close. In the end, it was on a countback. Ryle Harris picks up his 3rd career round win. Cedars and Fisher round out the podium. Pretty and Waite are next, but it's the young Queenslander who was the star of the weekend.
Ryle, how hard is it in these trying conditions in the heat and the cars and the tyres all going off on you?
It is very draining. Like you lose a couple of kilos, I think, in the day if there's 2 races. So you just got to keep your focus. I don't sweat much around the face because that gets really annoying. It drips in your eye and stuff. But you know, I'm just really happy for the team. The big gun racing team done a great job. The car was fast. They're over the moon, and I'm over the moon as well.
To be on that podium, top step, got to feel good.
I didn't realise until the cool down that the boys told me that you know, you'd taken the round win. I thought it was a count back off previous wins. I thought David Cedars might have got it, but you know, I went for it in the last one. I didn't look behind, put my head down on my bum up and went for it, and it turned out all right for us.
And this is how all right it's turned out. He's within 8 points of the championship lead now. Nathan Pretty hanging on by his fingernails. A posse of Fords chasing. Fisher, Cedars and Walton round out the top 5. Reece McNally next best in 6th. Gary Baxter picks up the Champion Spark Plugs Whole Shot Award for the best start of the weekend. $500 to the South Australian veteran. That will go in the kitty very nicely. Chris Walton, boy oh boy, he made some moves. He picked up the SS Inductions Hard Charger Award for that unbelievable drive through the field where he passed more utes than we've ever seen before. He also leads the Rookie of the Year award from Danny Bazadzik and Jared McLeod. But for Ryle Harris, it was his first round win since the Gold Coast last year. He picked up the major trophy and the chunk of championship points. He is right in the mix for the title. It's a title that will continue in October. A few months to wait, but it will be worth the while. Round 5 of the Auto 1 V8 Utes Series from the Super Jeep Auto Bathurst 1000 at Mount Panorama. Thanks to James Moffat and the whole team. We'll wait a few months and we'll see you at the mountain.